Okay, so for week five, agenda for Thursday. Some of these other videos that are from last semester, I did not share it, so you don't need to worry about that because we have plenty of videos for this class, and yeah, when I'm finished with this one, I'll post this one. That's enough material for you to do any reading or watching videos, everything. But these other ones that are available in terms of materials for the book on each one of them, you can read some of them depending on what chapter we are. So today we're covering strings in file IO, which is, let's see, right here on week 5. Yeah, week 5, we're covering chapter 6 and chapter 7. And for chapter 6, for a string, basically we will cover a lot of the materials here, including the chapter 7 file IO on the agenda for today, Thursday. And you're seeing this one on your side, right? This is published. You should be able to see these videos, I mean, modules. If you don't see it, please let me know. So here we're covering Python string. And with Python string, it's a data structure. I will explain what is a string and what is a data structure, what is all these other terminology we use, and then we will show you examples on it. On this chapter, you will learn the module called the string, and then all the methods and Dunder magic method that are available for it, including the properties that are associated with it. We will cover those ones. We have covered OS modules a number of times, but we will continue doing some more examples of some of the methods that are there in regards to string manipulation and file IO and everything else. And then same thing with SES, import SES modules. And then another module that's called a string rather than str. This one is a Python string module that has a string class, and as well as has a lot of these methods. And then some of these kind of like variables or parameters that are passed on to the strings to just return some kind of like what are a list of ASCII letters, what are a list of ASCII lowercase, uppercase, all of that one. I'll show you a demo it on the time when we do it. So you can get some help on a string by doing help a string, and it will tell you that this is a collection of a string constant. So all of these constants are already defined, and they are pointing to something up to like right here. These are called constants because the white space is some sort of constant, punctuations or constants. And I'll print out those ones. We will see it on when we go to the interactive Python. Here, for example, the white constant, they are showing you the definition. When you do help on it, it will say that what it contains and those ones. And then we will go through some module that I wrote and that will do certain things with string manipulation. We will go through those examples using PyCharm today. String 1, string 2, we will go cover all of that. Let me make sure that, and then once we are done with a string, we'll cover file IO. So file IO is another module and that another page actually, which I will show you. But what you are seeing here is the ordinary number and character numbers of Python representation of the ASCII character and alphanumeric characters, and everything else up to 256 characters. By default, we're printing it within this function or program or modules that we wrote. So let me go back on the top here, and then Python data type string. So at the same time, I'm going to open up a command prompt. And then let me also log into one of the Unix machine. Upstairs, Bitwise. So this time I'm going to connect to a Unix machine, not Linux, and that's a Solaris machine. The reason I'm connecting on different OS is that to give you a taste of Unix and Linux are so much similar that once you learn one of them, 80% you know the other one already. Then the other 20% or 10% or the vendor-specific command lines or device drivers or related system files that you have to learn. So coming back to this one, as you can see, this is a Sun operating system, Sun OS, and it is Solaris 11. That's why it says 5.11. So if you have a Solaris 10, it would be 5.10, the version. And if I look at the cat OS-release, then it says that it's Solaris 11.4 version. And this one is a Unix machine, not the Linux machine. There's not too much difference between them, but yes, operating system-wise, they both have a kernel, they both have a shell, they have a memory management, I/O management, file system, and then shells to handle your commands. Everything is almost the same in that sense. But in terms of functionality, one differs from the other ones, and in terms of multi-threaded processing, how does the file management system works, how the device driver works, how the connectivity of TCP and UDP, all those things, network, everything, it's the underlying architecture is a lot different. And then they both are multi-threaded, user multitasking operating system, 64-bit operating system. So if you look at the version of this one, if I run a Python-V by default, this one would just say 2.17.14. That's the older version. So Python 3-V is going to say 3.5. So by default, this machine comes in with two different Python versions. One is Python 2.7.14, which is the older one, and the other one is 2. This. The reason I'm showing you 2.417 because we're going to cover a string. Now, one of the functions within the string is called format. When you do the format, the syntax of the format with 2.714 or 2.7, it will work, as well as 3.5, it will work. But if you use the F string, you have to have at least Python 3.6 or up. And we will look at these ones to compare them differently on different. Python-V is 3.8. And then that's very, very slow. Windows machine is just giving me that hard time of just displaying the version. So if I go here on the Pasadena directory, pasadena.edu, and then go to fall directory and go to lectures. As you see, there's some examples of a string. If I go string star.py, let me just see what chapters, maybe it's under chapter 6. Virtual environment, yeah. So directory chapter, we have chapter 6, and then the strings are there. So those are the examples of string manipulation. I'll cover that one afterward. But let's cover what is a Python function. I mean a string to begin with. I'm sorry. Did anybody have any question? Okay. So no question. That's good. Let's go back to the definition here. We're saying a Python string. A string is a sequence of characters. A sequence of characters. So if I just come in on my example here and say Python, I start Python interactively, then I say S is equal and say this is a test. So I write this is a test, and then I print the S. It will just say exactly this is a test, like I was writing. So basically, this is an assignment statement. I define a string called S, and then the value of it, this is a test. Now, if I say type of S, notice that this is S is a class string. So if I say type of a string itself is this is the type data structure is called a string. So if I declare a number, say X, and then say type of X, now it says int. And then if I say type of int, it says class type. Basically, because int is a data structure in this case, that is restoring of type integer. And then the same thing with float. So let's say I declare a variable called float, and then a 5.5, and then I say type of F. This one will say float, and then if I look at the float data structure or data type, the data type of this one says class type. So they're all a data structure that manipulates. So if I create a list and then I say let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I just say type of L, and now it says list. And then if I just do type list, is again, it says class type, because list is a data structure of type list. Same thing with data dictionary. If I do a D and I say, let's say define an empty dictionary, and I type a D, that is dictionary. But if I look at the type of dictionary, it will say class type dict, which is this case is type. Same thing with tuple. If I say tuple and then I empty tuple, or maybe 1, 2, 3, 3, and then 4, 5. I define that one. Tuple, type of tuple is again that type, and then type of tuple is class type. But here's the difference is that what we are showing you, like for example, list is a different data structure, and the way lists are defined is between brackets. The way tuples are defined between parentheses. The way dictionaries between braces. So if I just modify my dictionary to say I'm having a dictionary called name, and it says user 1, and then let's say comma address, and let's say two keywords. Then I say address of user 1, and then I just do that. And now D is pointing to that one. So D sub name is going to, D of sub name is the keyword, you have to do that. And then name of address, by the key, you could just get the value of that. So address is not with a lowercase, you have to do it uppercase, you will get that. And then same thing with tuple. If I get tuple sub 0, I will just get the 1, and tuple sub minus 1 will give me 5, or tuple sub This is, if I want to go the length of tuple, it's 5 elements. So 0 through 4 will give me, 4 will give me the last element, because 0 through 4 would be 5 elements. Same thing with dictionary. If I get the length of dictionary, notice I'm using those method length, and then it will just return the length of the object. In this case, my object is L for list. And if I just get that object to be a string, and then a string is that many characters, this is a sequence of character. So when we are talking about characters, S1, if I just put one character, notice this one is type of S1, is still a string, because I'm putting within the single quote or double quote, that is even though one character, so S1 dot size of, and then if I just get that size of with the method, that you see a 26 character. Now if I change the S1 to say another character, 2 character, now the size of S1 is 27. And if I just add one more character to S1, say whatever, let's say B1 also, so 27 plus 2 is 29. So now it would be size of 29. The size of every element is different on the storage based on the object itself. So like a list has that many bytes. For example, a dictionary has larger, because each key pair value has to be stored. And then, like if I look at the dictionary itself, if I say d dot keys, this function keys will return all the keys, in this case name and address. And this function values would give me only the values. So I could get the items for item and let's say D, print item, and then item, if I just print this one item by itself, it will just give me the keys, name and address. But if I need both of them, I could say the same thing for statement here, and then the print statement that I'm doing here, you could say D sub name, because the key has to be there, and then that would be within the bracket, within the parentheses, comma, D sub name. It will give you the result what you're looking for. So let's go back to S, and then S1. Now, if I want to just merge the S1 and S2, I could say print S plus S1, and that S and S1 actually, not an SS2, because I don't have a S2. So now you could see that this is a test, and then the letter AABB was added. So if I change, say, let's say S is equal welcome. Let's just say hello world. And then I'm going to assign that to S. Now length of S this time is different. It's 13 character. So if I want to know what are the method properties available for the S string, I could do a dir of S, and all these methods are available. Now one of the methods, let's say I'm going to change the case of this one from S to say, change it to lowercase everything. So then I could say S dot lower, and then do that one, it will change it to the same. The same thing, S dot upper will change it to uppercase. And then F dot maybe title. So title, if this S was originally what was lowercase there, and then I could just say S dot capitalize. Let's say the capitalize will just change this S to H uppercase and the rest of them all lowercase, including word. Now, if I want to just change this one to original state, I could do this to say dot lower, change it back to lowercase. That would change everything. But then at this time, if I just want to change it to title to make sure that what it was, now H and W uppercase. So one method could be appended to the other method on the same object. The object is S, and you're manipulating it as you go. So like, for example, let's say I'm declaring S. Notice that if I just do S of 0, comma length of S, this one, sorry, length of S. If I do this one, it's going to print everything from first element to the last element of that one. And then if I do minus 1, notice the bank symbol is gone. Minus 2 would be just more characters. Every minus number that I'm doing, I'm just chopping out there. But if I just have S as a couple of spaces and say this is a long string and it requires no other data, for example, no other input, and then I'm just spacing it here. Now S is there. Length of S at this time is 64 characters because all of these white space are there. If I want to do remove the white space from there, then there's a function called strip. So now I just wiped out spaces that are here and the spaces that are here by doing a strip. But if I just do S still has it. So the output is not inline. It's not doing it on the object itself. If you want to put it into another string as S1, then now you say S is still the same, S1 is modified. And the same thing with, let's say, I go right stripe. Right stripe, and then I'm doing it as SR for right stripe. SR, now notice that the right one is strip. So, and then if I just do the same thing with left stripe, and then assign it to a string called left, left stripe, now S1 has the left stripe there. Because the object S already had this one left stripe. It took that string from the left of it and SL and will just be there from the left. And right is still having that information. If you want both of them to be done, you just do let's say S both, and then you say S dot strip or stripe. So it will just SB is just cleans up both of them. And then there's other method like, let's say, help of S. I'm sorry, dir of, you can do a S as a string, but you can do help on the string. It will be the same thing as that object you want to look for. And then, all these methods that are available, you could go through them. And then let's say you're looking for a replace, for example, S is there, and then you want to just change AND to OR. So you could say S dot replace, and then change the AND to the next string called OR. So it takes two arguments, a string from to, and the AND is the string that you want to change, and change it to what? OR. So this one, you can see that it did it online. If you want to just, now if I print S, it still has the same word, excuse me. He's coming and then goes. Okay, so the S in this case is the S is basically a string, but notice that the end was not modified within the actual string. When you're doing it, it just shows you at that time. So if you want to just modify it to something, then you just have to define that one to another string, SS. So if I look at SL, L, SR, all of those ones, those objects are there. I don't need them. I could do del S1, del SR, del whatever. Those objects. Now, if I do del S1, it's going to say that object doesn't exist. Del SR doesn't object doesn't exist. So now let's say when you do the replace method, you can change it to any character. You don't have to, I mean, any string that from one to another one. So you say S is equal hello students. Okay, so let me just show you the difference between the double quote and single quote also. When you're doing this one, let me open up PyCharm, because we have been talking about PyCharm, and I need to show you some of them within PyCharm. It is, okay, sorry, PyCharm. Doesn't matter which one we use. So this one is idle 3.7. We could use PyCharm, but in terms of the functionality, they all are working the same way. So let's say I say hello student, and then I want to change that S dot replace, and then change the student to universe. So I started with a single quote. I have to close it with the universe. And then I have to close it with the same thing. And then as you can see, it changes it there. But S is still allow student because we did not assign it. If you want to assign that one, the return value of that function replace, in this case, is assigned to SS, then now SS has the hello universe. S is still saying hello student. There's double quote, single quote, and those kind of information. I want to show you how it works. So let's just look at the double quote, single quote. If I have a string called S, and I just say this is, I'm going to just say this is a tab, this is a tab, delimited line. Okay, and then I'm going to say a new line. Now, and this will be printed to a new line. New line. And then I'm going to put another line. So is this one. So is this one. And if I do this one, now S is there. Notice that since I did the tabs, it did not understand any of those ones. So why did not understand? Let me check on this is tab delimiter S is equal. This is a line. Okay, the reason is that I'm just doing this as a string. If I just print S, then it's gonna just do it. So when you define this as string to be pointing to S, and until you don't call it, it will not understand these. These are tabs, and then this is new lines. So if you look at the line that it is there, let me just do this. and then print s. That is one way. Another way you could do is say, let's say I want to do this without assigning it to a string. I could just say print and then do this. So the function print statement will just do that. And at this time, what happened? Print, and this is tab. Print is mistyped. Let me just correct that. Print. So it says this is a tab, the limited line, because every time you use /t, it will just go tab. But /n, meaning new line. So if I just want to say something like print, this is a I wanted to see Wahid's textbook. So notice that I'm using Wahid's with a single quote, and then I'm using single quote here, single quote here. Python does not care as long as it's going to say, well, the way I'm interpreting this one, it will be a problem because I found a single quote and I found a closing quote here. In order to escape this one, you have to do a slash. Notice if I just run this one, it's going to error out. Okay, so it error out on this one in valid syntax, but the way you could escape it with backslash, it will just work. Because backslash is saying that this character that follows is escape it with don't interpret it. But I could do the same thing without the backslash as long as I just do this. Double quote here and double quote here. So now that one is just there. Okay, because it knows that this is not going to be the character that ends this character. This is the end of it. So another way you could do this one is like, for example, if you have something like this, Wahid in uppercase, this will just be a problem because even though you define this double quote, the system says, okay, you have up to here on the end of it. Now I started the word Wahid, it does not understand that one. So in order to understand that one, you either put that one in single quote, like that, or use that one and then the outside goes single quote. So a double quote within double quote doesn't mean anything. A single quote within a single quote doesn't mean anything. And then you just could do it with starting and ending the same. And between starting and ending the same, it will work. So that is whether you choose to start one double string or single string, you have to close it with that. Another way you could do it is with raw command. So if I have on Python, if I say print, let's say the C:/Windows/new dir1 directory is really is a new directory for you. Let's say you just try to output something. Notice that I'm saying the C:/Windows new directory, and then because this /n is a new line after the Windows, it just dropped me to the next line. But this is not what I intended to do. I wanted to just write this whole string. In order to do that one, and then on Windows and Unix, if you want to skip a character like this, you could just do it like that. You just say, don't interpret this one as /n as a new line. Interpret it as a backslash. So if I want to do, like, for example, two of the slashes, like print slash, this will just print that does not understand it, right? So in order for me to skip it, I do one slash, or use the raw. The raw is, in this case, is going to just, let me see, raw, and then I have to do something like this is two slashes or whatever, and then is whatever you do, and then it will do it. So in the case of this other example, when we were doing it, a raw would be a very good way to do it, and so you don't have to put two slashes here. So you could say, even like, for example, define raw one, string one, doesn't matter. String one is equal, and then you cut and paste, and this is string, whatever that string is. And then you could do that one. Notice that since this one is invalid syntax because I have to put it within the single quote here. So S1 is there, but if I do a print of S1, notice that again I'm going to a new line, right? I'm sorry, I'm not going to a new line because I have the string correct. So going back to this string and just trying to do it this way, then print S1. Notice the difference. Now, because of slash new line was interpreted, it just jumped into the other one. So what Python does, Python supports you with a raw function. This raw takes an argument, then it's gonna just define this one the way it is. It doesn't, you don't have to do backspace. It's gonna return the same thing. So print of that one will be okay. In another word, let's say I have print raw of this is tab, and this is new line. So when I do this one, it's gonna just print it exactly like it is. If I didn't have this raw function in front of it, it will print it as tab and new line. If you don't want it to interpret it, one way was to just do backspace. So the first one, if you were using without the raw function, sorry, if you were using it with the raw without the raw function, you would have to skip each one of those lines to say this is that way that don't interpret it. So backslash skips it. The raw, it helps you. You don't have to, you write it as it is, and then you just use it as it is. Okay. Do you have any questions so far? Okay, that's good. So we can use the Python console because this is a little bit tedious looking compared to this nice interface. So we will look at this interface, and then I'm opening the Python console right here. There's each one of them Python console and then the terminals. So with the terminals, you are getting a virtual environment with Python, and you can actually do directory command like operating system command, as well as Python commands. You could do python-m, pydoc or something, and then start off with certain port and so on. You or do a pip list, you could run those commands because we're in the virtual environment. That is what's happening. Let me mute myself for 1 second. There's a small cat that we have. I need somebody attention on it, please, for 1 second. Thank you. Okay, so on this one, my daughter is actually taking care of it. It's a cute cat. We're actually going to show you a picture of it today because we're covering file manipulation with file.io, and we will just an image that I have. We will run Python script to manipulate the image, read and write in binary format. So that's a good thing. We could do that. With PyCharm, we have the virtual environment that we can run the commands that we could list it, like pip install and pip list and pip search, all of those commands, as well as any other Python commands. You could start Python interactively. You could use, it's basically a virtual environment similar to like a Python environment. And then on top of it, you have the editorial that you could open up every functions that you're using it. In this case, if I go to chapter 6, for example, and then we could just open up the string 1 Python. And this one, let's just go through this quickly. And then, so this function with Python, this one, it is declaring a variable called food and assign cake to it. So a string is a sequence of characters. A string sub 0 is pointing to the C. A string sub A is pointing to sub 1. Sub 1 pointing to A, and then sub 2 pointing to K, and sub 3 pointing to E. And the same thing going backward, if you go and reverse, the -1 is assigning to the last character of the string, and then as you go to the negative numbers, you will go depending on how many items are in the string. And the strings are immutable. Immutable meaning that I can just say food is equal banana, or food is equal apple, or food is equal rice. Fruit is equal apple. I mean, food you could just have some sort of food like burger or rice or chicken. In this case, food is assigned to cake, but I could have a different value for it. Yes, I can change the variable to point to another string, whatever value it is. But the indices of the element are immutable. What does that mean is that, so right here, if I just go to the Python console, and then right here I could go say Python. Actually, I could say food is equal, I'm already inside Python 3.8. So I could say Python is cake. And then notice that as soon as I do that one, it will just assign food the value of cake. But food sub 0 is the first element of it. So each one of those elements, food sub 1, food sub 2, and last one, food sub 3, because there's 4 elements, length of food is going to return 4, and then 0 through 3 will be just the indices of that element. And food sub minus 4, let's say, would be just printing out the C. And then the 3 would be A. So and the -1 would be the E, right? So the indices, when you could do it, you could do colon like this. It will print out 0 through 4, all the elements, or 0 through 3. And then you could just say 0 through 3, I'll also do that one. 0 through 2 will not print the E. So it will just do the 0, and then C and A, and then K is not there. The 0 through 3 actually will not print the last one, 3. So this one will just only print the C. And then if you go this one from 0 to 1, this will just 1 to 1 will just point to nothing. So 1 to 2 is A. because the element 1 is printed. 1 to 3 will be A and K. So that's how you just see the indice of the element. But notice that when I say this immutable, what does that mean? Food sub 0, I cannot just assign that one to another string called, say, instead of lowercase, I could not change it to uppercase, because that is a string or immutable. You cannot modify the indices of that element. But food by itself, I could say burger, I could assign it now length of food changed. Length of food changed, and then if I just do print food to fifth element, it will put that one. If I do to sixth element, it will print burger, the whole thing. And then this is length of food would do the same thing. And then -1 would be the same thing. So the element of food sub 5, for example, is that, but food for sub 5 cannot be changed to an uppercase R because that is a mutable string. So if I want to change the food, I could say food sub 5. If I do this one to upper, let's see what it says there. So it did change it there, but food is still is pointing to the lowercase r. And then that is in line with a string. You can, content of it, you could do it, and then you have to assign it to a different variable. So that's why you could say food.upper, you could change the entire thing to say all in uppercase, or food.lower to change everything to lower. And then if you have this string, let's say, for example, here, what we are doing here, let's just run that one. So I'm going to run this one program, and it's called string 1. So in order to run that one, let's call it like this. I think that one is the last object. Excuse me. Okay, so that one was the last object that we had it. So I want to just run it here and say run. And then in order to get this thing out, I'm going to close some of this one because it does not need to be open at this time. Okay, so we run this one and say run, and then we just say what's the name of a string 1 right here. So we run a string 1. As you can see, the output is showing on the bottom here soon. See what's happening here. So we did food, and maybe yeah, it's showing now. So it didn't run it first time. So when we run it now, it says food is cake. So food sub 0 is cake. As you can see on the statement, the way we are calculating them. So the way we're calculating them, food is there. Food sub 0, food sub 1, sub this, we were just experimenting out, it's going to find it. So all of those ones are printing these, and then -1, the negative numbers are printed. And then the length of it at the end is just return to 4. Yeah, the length is at the end is 4 here. Any question on this? Okay, let me move this one to the side, and we can open another one, string 2. It's 8:30, around 8:30. Okay, so a string 2. If we close this one, we don't need to open it, and then open this one, and let's look at this one. What does this one do? This is also a string manipulation. In this case, I'm defining a variable sport, and I say I love playing soccer. Inside that one, this is a Python script, so for chapter 6, and it's doing a string modules. I love playing soccer, and then print a sport, and then a sport here. So this will just say the sport, the word sport, and then colon says I love playing soccer. And then this one will just give you the length of it, basically the length functions, and then now new line characters is done here. Raw and other type are not used, so we're using the raw materials here. I mean the regular new line characters, so using the loop. But in this case, I'm setting a loop of initially for I is equal 0, then it goes through the I statement, and this could be just move one character here. And then if I is less than length of sport, which is whatever is this one, 12 or 15 characters, it's going to go there, then print each one of them, and then print the element of that character. Then increment the I to 1, so the while loop statement at some point gets false. Normally, if you point to this one like I did here, you will get some sort of help from IDE to say this is what the IDE does right there, and the while statement. So it gives you a syntax of it, but the while statement, the syntax is that initially some condition becomes true, and if that condition is true, you enter the loop, and then at some point you make that condition false, so you exit out of the loop. That's what while does. While some condition, colon, and then do some statement, and then end the statement with some condition being false. And so this is outside of the while statement, and using the for loop, and then for C and sports, in this case is printing the sport and then elements of it. So let's just run it again, and the output is going to show here. Actually, this one I have to run it here again. It just we run a string 2. We want to do a string 2. Where's a string 2? I don't see a string 2 here. Run. Yeah, right here, string 2. Okay, so you can see that the way it prints it out for and within the for statement for each element, and the space is string sport 1, and then a space, and then I love is all those other indices as it is doing playing soccer, and then exit out of the loop. Here again, it does the same thing. Within the one is with for statement, the other one is with while statement. If you look at the way both of the iteration that we covered in chapter 4, a while statement does that, and then a for statement for initially for some characters. This is how a for statement works, and the syntax is giving you there. But for this variable and this list, and this list in this case is a string of elements. Then you iterate through it, and then at some point you reach to the maximum iteration because you end up with the end of the length of the sports, then you just terminate the for statement. Any question? Okay. While I'm covering this one, I like to show you the format string also. So right here on the, let me just cover that one inside this. I'm gonna minimize this screen and minimize, that's okay. Maximize this screen. So this one, I'm gonna say import os.system, CLS, and then, so in this case, I wanna just define a string, and I say, hello, some names, right? So in this case, if I could write a function also to do it, but let me just do it in 2 steps. One without the function, one with function. So if I just say s is equal hello, and then first name, let's say hello, first name, and then a last name. So if I just say this, and then I say print s, at this time it does not know what is first name, what is last name. I just did not have defined those ones. But if I just say first name is equal Wahid, the string Wahid, and then last name is equal Lutfi. So now I'm just gonna change that a string here. I'm gonna say s hello this, and then I'm gonna say plus first name. I could say plus first name, and then notice I'm putting a space there. I could say plus another space here, and then plus that one, and then last name. So I don't need this, and then that would be because s is already there. Now it replaces those first name and last name to there. So if first name and last name changes, let's say first name becomes Cristiano, last name becomes Ronaldo. Let's say if we do that one, and then we just say a string, now the string is initially assigned to that because of this string. Now if I want to change that one, I have to do this again. Then at this time the s is going to print, I'm sorry, the s is going to print to the new values. So where's the net s? I'm going to print it here. It's going to say hello Cristiano Ronaldo. In order to do this one, you have to write a functions. So you cannot just keep going, changing it, and then passing on the argument to it. So in order to do that one, let's say def, I'm going to say, and then we could do this one with a format method. Like for example, we could say s, and then let's say we could say hello, s is equal hello, and then we could do that, and then with format method dot format, and then we could just say first name comma last name. But notice that with the format, I have to have placeholder here. So the placeholder here is for the first name is this placeholder, and then last name is this one. Now I'm doing that one, and then now if I print this s, it's gonna just automatically get the assignment to that one there. So that's with the format method. With the string, it's a little bit shorter. This is Python 2.7 and up. So it is working with Python 2.7, 3.6, and so on. But with the F method, you have to have Python 3.6 and up. So if I just use the F method, S is equal, and then I say F, and then say hello. Now the placeholder, I could write first name inside here, and then I could write last name. I could do that one also, and automatically now assign that. So notice that I didn't have to use format, I didn't have to use left parentheses. So the F string is a little bit faster or easier to write and more easier. So whatever you write, you just put the placeholder, similar to like Bash scripting that, or Python or Perl scripting, that you could just pass on the parameters of the argument that you're putting it. Except on Bash scripting, you use the $sign in front of those braces or parentheses, braces actually, and this one you don't have to. So the F string does it. In order for me now to write a clear function, I could just say def greeting or greet, and then just inside here, I could just say get the first name, get the last name as argument. So these are the parameters of the function. And then I say return. I could say print or return. Let me just do it with print first. And then I say print f of hello. And then same kind of things that you did here, first name, and then last name. Basically, you put it into there, and then close the if statement with that. And then now all I have to do is say greet. And then if I just pass in Wahid Lutfi, Lutfi, notice that whatever quotation I used, I have to close that one. Sorry, Wahid, first name is not defined. Oh, because I typed in incorrectly. See that F name, I put it wrong. So I have to do the greeting again. Okay, this is a good example here that we could write it on PyCharm much faster this way. So now I'm going to do a file new Python, edit a new file. Sorry, file new. Why is it not opening a new Python file? Okay, not doing any extra one file. New scratch file, new Python. Okay, so right here, let's write a function for greeting. We could just say pound shebang Python, and then we could just have a line say, this is a simple test for greeting function with F function. And so here we say def for definition, and we say greet is the name of the function. We say first name, comma, last name. And then we could add more parameter after if you want to. And then you say print, and then f of hello, and then $sign, not $sign, this first name, and then followed by last name, excuse me, last name. Now we're just gonna call it, say, greet, and then say Wahid, and followed by last name Lutfi, and then greet and Diego, and followed by actually yeah, Diego, Messi, Diego Maradona, and then you could just say greet and France Beckenbauer, or well, let's call it change it to Messi, Messi, Leono, something like that. So then now we used one function, but we passed it on as many arguments as we want. So if I just run this one, run, and then we just let's save it first. Say save as, and we call it greet.py, and then we run greet.py. Greet.py. Notice that with this method, you can now not only have the functions that is doing something, you could, at this times, these ones are printing these statement because we have a print statement. But if I just change that one to a return value, and then I just run it again, it did not print anything. It just gave me this because at this time I have to return this one to say, let's say Wahid is equal this, and then print Wahid, because that result is actually an object string called Wahid, and then this one the same thing. So Diego, D is equal, and then print D. And then the same thing with Messi. So M is equal that, and then print M. So once you do that one, if you just run it,
Excuse me, Professor.
yeah.
A couple of us are having some internet difficulties tonight, and we wanted to know if this lecture would be recorded.
Yeah, it is actually recording it right now, so I'll post it definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for letting me know.
Professor?
Yeah.
My internet may go out any second. It's been a problem this entire night.
It is a problem the whole night?
Yeah, I've cut out like 2 or 3 times.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes, you know, the power is not safe anymore because of the fire, and then internet sometimes, depending on the speed, sometimes when we subscribe to the internet, they say 500 and the 300, and it's not there. Even like when you check it with the speed test, it's like 24 or 54, and they don't guarantee it, unfortunately, with all the time. And from different location, it is happening like that too. But I will definitely post this one. Thanks for letting me know. I will post all the videos, and if you have any issues or listening to the video while I'm doing it, you're welcome to watch it, and then just if you have question, please raise that question next time when we are at the lab time, or send me an email. So this one, as you can see, with the object that we are printing, because we say return, this function returns some values, and that value is saved onto a string called this. So if I say print the type of this W, it will say this is a string there, right? So if I say print, let's say dir of W, I want to print those values. Let me just move it there. So if I just do this and then close this one, Now it's okay. So let's say just for the W, if I want to see it, it will just give me all the directories there and the methods that are available for W, and then it tells me the type of it and everything. So notice the type is a string, and these are the actually methods that are available. So I could do something like, rather than printing these ones, let me go back here, small size it so you can see this screen. And then if, this time, rather than actually doing this, I could comment this one out because it's clobbering the screen for me. So I could do that, but then I could just change this one to say print w.upper. So if I want to change that one while I'm working on it, I could modify that string on the fly with this. And then I could write other methods, other property to do something with it. So you could see hello Wahid, look. Well, the screen is not coming. Okay. If let's say the word Wahid and W, then print it. Then print it. Otherwise, don't print it. Right? To print it in uppercase, or maybe to capitalize both of them. To capitalize, or just change it to title. So Wahid Lutfi, all in uppercase. Even if I have this one in lowercase, Wahid Lutfi, and then here the string that I'm matching has to be the same match. So if Wahid and W, then print that string and titleize it. So notice that Wahid Lutfi is in lowercase, but then we're changing and comparing it. It failed on something. Let's see what is the line that is generating it. F Wahid and W is not defined. Yeah, because W is lowercase, not uppercase. So it's case sensitive. You cannot just define a variable called W uppercase, lowercase, and then use the uppercase. And that is not there. And so notice that now this time it found the string Wahid, and then it just says Wahid Lutfi, all and W in uppercase and L in uppercase, even though here was lowercase. It changed it. So then you could say, for example, if let's say D dot starts with that's another method that you could do, and then say the string start with Diego there, then what you should do, say print let's say D dot upper method plus the string you rock on 1986 World Cup. He won the World Cup for Argentina back in 1986. So you could say that you rocked past tense. So you could do that, and then this print statement also does that. I don't need to print it here. I could that one here, or I could just say do that one because D dot upper is going to print it anyway. So, and then this one, if it says, let's say, I'm not sure if the last name is, I wrote it correctly, but let's say I'm going to say FM dot ends with. Notice that Python automatically helps you, PyCharm. It says that this is the arguments that you can pass on these strings. Ends with. So I'm going to say Liono. Maybe it is a little bit different, but it's okay. So if the string matches that one, then say print so in this case we want to print something, say let's use the F statement. You could do F string if we say messy. We could just say the string is name is messy, and then we just say m dot let's do m dot upper, and then we say the best ever soccer player. I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the other one as well. So if we gave both of them credit, that would be better. And Messi is one of the best soccer player. Maradona, Franz Beckenbauer, a lot of those ones were great players. John Cruyff. So let's say FM upper, the best ever player. So let's say we do that one, that's fine. And I think that's good enough to test that. So we're checking a number of functions, start with, ends with, and then change it to uppercase. A string is matching something. If a string is matching, you say N, and if it is not matching, it's ends with. So now it starts with. It starts with, I missed the S here. Okay, so the first one, it says hello Wahid, because of just printing the title. I'm nobody, I'm not a soccer player, I'm just a regular person. Here, the two other person that are superstars, Diego Maradona and Messi, from both of them from Argentina, we could just say hello Wahid, and then the next one, hello Messi, and this, the best soccer player ever. So whatever we write that one, that will print it. What happened to the Diego Maradona? It starts with, so the word starts with, it did not match this one for some reason, Diego. Let's see why. If D dot starts with this, I'm gonna just change that one to if D dot starts with, where's the D? D is Diego. Diego Maradona. Okay. If actually D is full things, not just one of them. When we print it out, D, let's see what it printed. D. I want to see print D, and then maybe this different than what we are matching. So hello Diego Maradona. Oh, the word hello is happening there somewhere. Because the other one was there. So in this case, it does not happen with the Diego there. It is hello. So either you have to do like hello followed by comma space Diego, the whole string, to just say something about it, or you could do a search for the starting word to be hello or whatever it is. But if you're just doing it like here, you see for Maradona, it came out you're the best, and then there has to be a space here. You won the 1986 World Cup. you could see that this is matching. But then this one, if you want to change the word, like here we say it, if the word is Wahid N, if you're not looking for absent of something, then you could say not N, not N. So if I just change this one to W, uppercase, it's not N, and that one, it still will just change the Wahid to title, because that one is not in that string. So I could just put anything like soccer not in W, it will just do that. And you can see that one. So the not is just also become true when the string is not found on there, not N. That is true, and then therefore you're printing that string. If you want to not print it, then you print something else. And then this one, like Diego, we were looking for this word. If you want to look for a specific word, and then you could do also find, and then look for the Diego. Since Diego is going to be, it's going to give us an indices of that number, that string. So if I go back to the Python console, see that this one, it finds it because Diego is some indices after this. So if I print D here, notice that this D dot find, and so if I look for Maradona, it is going to say -1 because I'm looking for lowercase. If I just change that one to uppercase, it's going to give me the index of the element is there. Since Diego is also there, if I look for this character D, it's going to do that. So D dot find, I could do it. And then R find is the reverse find of it. So it's going to look for, from outside back in. Maradona, if I just look for the O, and then it's going to just say, yeah, it found it on that order there. Also, the D dot count of, let's say the word Maradona, it's going to say D dot count. I missed the N. I'm sorry, D dot count. So D dot count, Maradona, it is not showing out as that character, but let's say the character M, how many times it's there, is 1 time. The character R is 1 time. The character A is a few times, so it has to give us 3 times. And then the same thing with D, Diego, is 1 time, and then it's going to say, same thing with the W for Wahid. If I just Wahid the characters, and then it will just do that. Something, I did not close it. So in order to do that one, this last one, you have to actually say w.count, and then Wahid W. And so W lowercase is there, is found, and A is found, and so on. And if something is Z is not in my name, it will not return there. So 0 number of this. And if you look at the find for it, since it's not there, it will return a -1. But if it finds some character, it will say the occurrence of it. Lowercase will give you the where it is there. Hello, and then W was saying hello Wahid, so W is there. If I'm looking for H, it has to say 0 indices of it. So we did that one. Let me see, the timing is 9 o'clock. And I have some more functions to show you, and then a string 3. Let's just do that one. So this one is count. Basically, it just shows you and the number of elements that are there. We looked at the count. So if I say count of I'm sorry, w dot count of the letter A, how many are there, and then D for Maradona was 3 of them, so it will just give you the count of it there. We were practicing that one earlier. So here I'm doing a function called CC count. So for each character that we are counting, and this is a line of a statement, and for each line, it will go through the message, which is this string, and then it says, for each element, as you find it, increment the element with the counter. The counter gets added, counter plus 1. This is plus equal 1, meaning that count is equal count plus 1. And the return count, so here we are just looking for some characters, passing these characters as argument to the function cc count, because it only takes one character. As we do it, it just says t was how many times it was found. So if I run this one, let's do a run, a string 3. Okay, so you can see that this statement that are printing here, right there, t is occurring once, and lowercase t is occurring 4 times, because you can see that t is so many times here. 1 time here, 1 time here, 1 time here, 1 time here, that's 4. And the same thing with s, and same thing with n, the number of occurrences, counting those ones. And then you could just type in this other one, say, let's say the z is not there. If I just say, this is dynamic part of the Python function, so you could just write the function once and call it as many times. So since z is not there, I could just do it. It should say 0, because this counter initially is 0. Yeah, z is 0. So that is how you write the function once. You could call it as many times. This is call to the functions. This is a parameter inside this function to summarize what we have covered so far. Inside this functions, starting with this colon, you start the block of code. This block of code is the scope of this function. The function name is c count. And then this one is defining it. So when you come in, the counter is incrementing. Whatever the value that is going here is the scope of this function. Outside of this function, if you print this counts, has no value. So count is 0 here globally, and count is incrementing here, and then the scope changes afterward. And then when you pass on the parameters, this is call to the function, and this statement, this is a call to function c count, and the argument is uppercase t. This one is the argument is uppercase, lowercase t, and so on. So those are the parameters that are passed on to the values that are passed on to the parameter. And then you could call this one c, you could call it any character. This is just a parameter. But when you pass on this, because it requires a string, a character string, you have to pass on a string character. So I cannot say like this, print, sorry. If I do this and then say c count, and then I just write this the letter z, this is not going to be understood, because this z is not defined. So z has to be defined there, and it's going to say z is undefined. And then now if I just don't have a value, I'm passing by argument. That argument has to be defined somewhere on the global things. So this one will just end up as an error because Python is an interactive interpreter. It goes line by line, and then at line 17 you can see it says z is not defined. But if I just define z somewhere here, say z is equal w, doesn't matter what you want to do, it's going to just replace that letter z here. I don't need to put it within the code. I could say z, and it's going to just automatically knows that this is my w. And then it's going to say w, and then the count. If there's a w here, it is still nothing w, so it's going to just return a 0 element for the w also. But it will say w and then 0. So let's change it to something that is there. We don't have the word e, but we can change this one to a e and count the number of e's. And then now the z will just say, instead of w, it will say e, and then the number of occurrence this time will just have some value depending on how many times the e is there. There's at least, I see 3 of them, maybe more, 4. Yeah, 4 of them. So that's how you just get the value by just when we read it, and that's how computer is going to read it, scan it through these for statement and this counter statement. You give the instruction to the computer how to calculate that value, and then how to do this one. So it doesn't make sense to call this one z. You could call it e is better than z, and then just pass on the e and pass on e. That would be more semantically correct, because even though you're defining one letter character, which is not a good variable, it does not tell anybody, but e is pointing to e itself, and so you could just say character e or e. Now it's better. So this is automatically saved. So the other program that we have is string 4. String 4 is, notice that this one, the ordinary of a is, when you're doing this one, you're getting 65, and when you're printing a character of 65, you're getting the letter a. So for example, if I'm doing here and say print ordinary of 65, ordinary of actually a, uppercase a in this case is 65, and the lowercase a is, I believe, is 95. 90s, yeah, 97. So a B would be 98, and a C would be 99, and a D would be 100. So you just go through that loop of getting it. But ordinary of this number, if I just say, give me the character of that one, so just change this one to char of it, CHR. And now, even though it was saying 100, now character of 100 is a D. And so if I want to get this one, whether I do this syntax, ordinary of it, or just do directly 100, you will get the same thing. So 97, was it? 97 of it is A, and then 98 of them was B, and so on. So this is how you go through. If you get the ordinary of it, you get the character, the number, and if you get the character of a number, you get the actual letter of the character. So now we're going through the ASCII symbol for these decimal numbers. And then as you can see here, I wrote the ASCII, stand for American Standard Code Information Interchange, because these 256 characters that you have on your keyboard, we could see the value of them, how they are going to be eventually changed to binaries and hexadecimal to binaries to be calculated on the register size. So if you look at this one for D and numbers, for character and numbers, and 256 as the range that we want to do up to this, it prints all of them. And then the same thing with 256 for ordinary of them. So if you run this one, sorry, I need to run the other one. Run this one, and this one is string 4. So you can see that it prints out all the non-ASCII characters also, like some of those spatial symbols you can see. And then the Unicode, if you print out, you could also get values of different letters, different alphabets. Sometimes I used to print Arabic letters or Farsi, Persian letters, as well as you can do Chinese, you can do English, you can do German, all kind of languages that you can look for it, and then get the spatial octet number or Unicode number in this case, and print it out. And that's this. So it's 9. Let me see, 9:13. Okay, let's take a 5 or 10 minutes break, and then we come back and we will cover file I/O. See how much.